Well, hello, everybody. This is Mike from Dimensional Walking. And today I want to talk about high strangeness, the history of Catalina Island. So Catalina Island sits off of Rancho Palo de Vertes Peninsula, and it is visible from Orange County beaches. And it actually is in LA County, I believe. So anyways, Santa Catalina Island is one of the Channel Islands, but is not really part of the national park there. And there are two main destinations on the island. One is Avalon, and the other one is Two Harbors. And it is, it's a beautiful island. I was there, I guess it was probably about 10 years ago when I did some work. I was working for two aerospace companies in the LA area. So I had some time off. So I took a ferry, I guess it was kind of a ferry boat or a boat of some sort. I don't know if it was a ferry, but it was a boat over to the islands. And while I was at the islands, I had some strange vibes, but nothing that really bothered me. Although there was times when I was hiking or walking that I was a little dizzy, a little off, and I wasn't dizzy when I was over on the mainland. Generally speaking, I'm a little dizzy anyways, but I really meant physically dizzy. So anyway, so I thought it was really a kind of a wonderful island, very clean, very neat. Some good hiking. So I did my time and hiked around. Kind of remind me of a Mediterranean island, and excuse me. And it was kind of semi-arid, not a lot of trees. There were some palm trees, but not a lot of tall trees, etc. So anyways, one of the reasons I started thinking about this was I had done a video, and some of you may have seen the video on the Channel Islands and UFO sightings out there, and the base off of Malibu Beach, the underground, alleged underground alien base. So I did a full video on that, and just happened to notice the San Catalina Island was also part of this Channel Island chain. So, and on top of that, strangely enough, probably about a month ago or so, I got a book from a friend, and the name of the book was, I believe it was Catalina Islands, Haunted Catalina, it was called. And it was by a couple. I believe they were married, and one was named Robert Wolodowski, and the other one is Anna Nathan Wolodowski. Okay. And so, I read the book. It was quite fascinating. It kind of motivated me to do some more of my own personal research on it, which I did, and found out that there was some amazing paranormal activity in the past. And as of the writing of the book and some other research I did, it looks like there's still paranormal activity going on today. So that's what I kind of want to go through a little bit today. So anyways, this is a resort area of, I would call it the rich and famous. It's close to the mainland and close to LA. And of course, as many of you know, there's quite a few rich and famous people that live in that area. So some of them will go off of there for a quick boat ride over there and have some fun, a little fresh air, etc. Because basically the air there is quite a bit fresher, cleaner than it is over in the LA basin. So anyways, it's a kind of a nice place to be because the westerly winds pretty much will blow and keep a lot of the pollution, smog, etc., off of the island. So anyways, the island is about 22 miles long, and it's probably about 9 miles at the widest point. So it's, you know, it's a small island, but it's, you got some 22 miles is a pretty good length. You couldn't really walk it very easily at any given time, but the trails don't, I don't think, if I remember correctly, don't go around it, but there's some pretty long trails along the coastal areas. Um, so anyways, a little bit of the history, the Native American culture was part of the history of the island. And actually the interesting thing about it, it goes back about 7,000 years. That is pretty incredible, I think. And the natives were, they call themselves Tongva, and I hope I'm pronouncing it. It's let's see here, Tongva. Anyway, so they were there for the longest time, probably at least 5,000 years of time before anybody else even showed up. Okay. Now, where they came from exactly, I don't know. I try to find out if they came from Asia via the land bridge, or they came from maybe kind of South America, Central America, but couldn't really find anything else more about it. So anyways, then what happened probably about 500 years ago, the Spanish showed up, and they, this is when they were coming in from Mexico into California and Arizona and New Mexico, and settling in those areas. So anyways, they found the island. They went over there and they just basically started out by just trading with the natives, because the natives were fishermen and they had a lot of, they were catching a lot of fish. They had seals and things like that they were getting pelts. And so they traded with the Spanish, and that was pretty much it. And that probably was for over 100 years. But then the Spanish decided that wasn't good enough. So they, brought their missions over and brought their diseases over. And you know how the story ends up. Basically, they destroyed that culture and that civilization. And whatever the few people that were left on this tribe, they ended up going over to the mainland. And what happened to them after that doesn't seem like anybody really knows. I don't know if there's any live present day Tongvas left, but they probably were assimilated into other tribes on the mainland. So anyways, the Spanish / white men ended up destroying their culture. And so then the Spanish had taken over. So that kind of drives us up into the, then there was other things like during the Civil War, it became a kind of a outpost to keep, to keep some of the southern troops from attacking some of the shipping lanes that were between Southern California and Northern California. So it was kind of an outpost there, kind of a fortress that would keep a watch over the channel there. And that's why they call it Channel Islands, by the way. Anyways, going into the early 1900s, this became, again, a famous playground of the rich and famous and some of the wealthier people in the United States. One of the famous people at the time was William Wrigley. And of course, he was the chewing gum king out of Chicago. He was quite wealthy, he owned the Chicago Cubs, as you probably all knew that, Wrigley Field, right? So anyways, he built a casino there, and he also brought his ball club there to do spring training. So that went on for quite a while. Then there was a period in which the natives were removed, and probably, like I said, there's probably less than 50 of them kind of left, and they were moved out to the mainland. And then there was a period where relic hunters came to the island and started pillaging the native sites, the burial grounds, some of their ceremonial churches or whatever buildings. I guess, I don't know if they were called churches, they're buildings. And they pretty much badly destroyed the relic hunters, pretty much destroyed what was left of the tongue of civilization. But here's a general statement. This is my belief, and this is other people's belief, that the whole island, since it was a small island that had a civilization for probably, what did I say? Probably 5,000 years at least. And they lived and pretty much died on that piece of land, that small piece of land. There's a lot of old energy souls there. And with the old energy souls, there is a lot of hauntings and paranormal activity. This is what happens, okay? So anyways, this old energy is still lingering throughout this island, and it's, in my estimation, other people's estimations, causing a lot of paranormal activity, okay? So I'm going to go over just a very brief list of some of the locations on the island that have had high paranormal activity and probably still do to this day. I know some of them do for sure, some of them may not. But anyways, this would just give you a little bit of a flavor, but there's many, many more of these locations throughout the island. So there's something called the Catalina Visitors Country Club. This is where the Cubs, the baseball team, the Cubs, would reside. And I think right there close by was where the field was, where they actually did their spring training. And what happened, this was in the 20s that this was going on, their spring training. They didn't stay there for, I don't know, I think it was about 10 or 15 years, but then they left. But the building still stood, this country club, and there would be many sightings of years later of these players that were, and what was weird about it, most of these players didn't die there. They did probably died somewhere else on the mainland, but they would see these players dressed in their old uniforms walking the grounds or walking this country club. And nobody really figured it out. It was just their energy there was imprinted in this particular location, and it stayed there. And so people would see these things quite frequently walking around, and they definitely weren't real people. They were definitely ghostly people. So anyways, like I told you, Wrigley also built a casino. And it was one of the things that were really famous there was this ladies' restroom that they would see people in there. There was a maintenance guy that lived on actually in the casino. The casino wasn't one of these 24-hour type situations. So it was open a regular time, maybe 12 hours or something, but it was closed for a part of the day or part of the night. And so anyways, he lived down there kind of like a security person also. And he would hear really strange stuff coming from mainly both restrooms, men's and women's. It was, in a casino, so they're pretty good size. But he said he did hear a lot in the women's, and many times he would kind of like go in there, knock on the door and say, hey, you shouldn't be here. It's locked up, everything else. A couple of times he would go, and in fact, several times he said he'd go in there, turn the light on. The lights were always off, of course. Go in there, turn the light on and kind of search around, but there was nobody there. But he said that happened consistently. And he was not the only witness to that. He said there was two other guys that were also would help him sometimes late at night doing some work in the building. And they also witnesses these voices talking and calling inside these restrooms. So anyways, that was, but there was also other parts of the casino. He said that there was other type of activity in the kitchen area, in part of the ballroom, where he and other people would hear voices and people scurrying around, kind of shadowy looking creatures or beings moving around in those areas. So then there's on the island, there's many old, beautiful homes there. Some of them go way back, okay? A couple 150 years, maybe up to 200 years. I think there was a couple that were about 200 years old at the time. And many of them got remodeled. And because of maybe the disruption and the remodeling or something that stirred up some paranormal activity. One of the examples I can give you of some of these workmen who did a lot of these would go from, place to place, and they would, do these remodels. They said one of the things they had happen many times, they were painting or they were varnishing a old floor, redoing an old floor and putting varnish on it. A lot of times they would find these footprints or handprints on the walls and footprints on the floors, of course. And it was amazing because what they were is, and a lot of these homes, when they did the varnishing, I did some of the painting, a lot of times the residents of the property would leave at least overnight until the varnish. Because if you know anything about varnish, it's pretty powerful smell. And you probably can't really stay inside of a house if you're varnishing a very large floor area, or even painting, even though years ago there was a lot of the paint had volatiles in it that really smelled strong and really bothered people. So a lot of times they would do that, do the varnishing, do the painting and leave and let it dry. And then it wouldn't be so bad the next day or so. But anyways, what they would consistently find out, there was these handprints on the walls and there was these little footprints, and some of them were very tiny. Very tiny. And they try to lay traps to find out who did this. They would hide away, they would leave, and they would have a couple of the guys stay kind of overnight and hide in a room or something to see if they could see them. But a lot of times they would come out and they never found anybody, but the footprints were there and the handprints were actually on the wall. And a lot of them were small, which was really bizarre. And some of them would lead, many of them would just lead right into a wall, the footprints, and they just seem to vanish. Or the handprints are up a wall. You know what I'm saying? Where it wouldn't be even possible, especially little ones. They would go up. I think I read somewhere some of them would go up to 8 feet off the floor and then disappear. So it was quite bizarre. Anyways, that was consistent. This wasn't just one group of people, remodelers that were doing this. This was several of them that were comparing notes and said, "Holy crap, what is going on here?" So, anyways, so that was one of the more interesting stories. Also, there was a lot of stories in these older homes of ghostly fishermen, carrying kind of some type of equipment that looked like a fishing equipment, reels, lines, etc. Even little harpoons, I think they said, which is odd, I thought. But anyways, they said that they would see them quite frequently. And it isn't just from one house. This is from a bunch of houses. There was always that. And they didn't seem to be bothering or hurting anybody, but it was, I guess, startling the first couple of times you'd see a ghost like this walking through the house. So that was pretty common. That was a very common experience. Some of them also had what I would call an incubus type experience, where either it was a male or a succubus incubus thing. If it was a male, of course, it was a succubus that would lay on top of their chest and would lay on their chest and kind of scare the crap out of them, basically. Or again, an incubus, which would be a version, a kind of a ugly male version that would kind of lay and kind of suck the energy out of a female. And that was also happening too. And that was kind of a more scarier thing when you have that experience of incubus succubus. And we did a video on incubus succubus on our channel. If you're interested in those, they can be scary, especially if it happens to you. So then there was another occasion where there was a haunting of a house, and then the guy that owned the house found out that the person used to be the neighbor died in their house. The real estate person didn't tell them this. I don't know if they knew, but they're supposed to tell. If somebody dies in your house, you're supposed to disclose that anyways. He didn't know about it. Find out there's a weird story where this neighbor, he would come and stay in this particular house because he didn't want to interrupt his wife late at night, because he would go out and carouse around the town, and I guess she would raise hell with him. So for some reason he'd go and stay overnight at this house, sleep there. I guess he knew the people, obviously, And then one night, I guess he had been drinking, and I guess he took some sleeping pills or some type of pills, and he died. So, anyways, he ended up haunting that house. I don't know why. These people probably were very good to him, let him sleep in the house, so his wife wouldn't give him a wackadoodle. So, anyways, that was an interesting story, I thought. So I thought I'd share it with you. And one more, last but not least, as they say. And again, I just want to say there's many, many more stories. You know, I didn't really want to make this a real long video, but some of the stories are really, really good. And so, anyways, I came across somebody I would consider a famous empath that shared a story with me about her, I guess I want to call it encounter, but it wasn't so much an encounter. It's more of a going to the island when she was young, and she actually experienced really bizarre negative type energy on the island as she was walking around it. Unlike me, I really didn't have anything I would want to say was negative, but she had extreme negativity as she was walking around. And she visualized, one of the things she visualized was there was some underground or I guess she said underwater caverns or caves in which was probably done some pretty nefarious things happened there. She didn't want to really go into it. It really was quite disturbing to her what she saw. So, and she didn't really, she remembers that distinctly about when she went to visit that when she was a young girl, about 16, I think she said. So anyways, I was curious about that. So I went ahead and I did some of my own research, and I found out that guess what? There are underground, they call them sea caves on I think it was the west side of the island. And a lot of times when the tide goes down, you can get inside these caves, and you know, folklore goes that sailor ghosts actually protect these entrances because pirates, they call them California pirates, put their treasure inside these caves to come back at a future date or a future, you know, century or whatever, and collect their treasure. But anyways, that's about it. I just wanted to give you all that. Even though maybe sacrifices or not, who knows? It seems to me to be a very paranormal island. And if you get a chance, check it out for yourself. Well, anyways, that is it for today. If you like us, please subscribe. You can see some of our other videos on dimensional walking, a paranormal journey. If you have any stories you'd like to share with us or any questions, please do that at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. And happy trails until we meet again. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.